So for this lesson, we'll talk about the HCI. Okay, so HCI stands for Human Computer Interface. That means how the human and the computer they can interact with each other. They can interchange the information with each other. So we will select a special topic. So the special topic is called design and prototyping. As you are going to create a product for some other privileged group. So somehow you need to thinking about the process that how you can design the best solutions, that how can you design the best interface for them, because most of the technologies is handled by the others, right? So for the computer equations or for the other programming, there are lots of frameworks, there are lots of library to handle. So yeah, lots of the main company they handle the main technologies part, and then what you are going to do, or when you yeah, after you graduate as well. So what are you going to do in the first few years? So you are going to design interface. So how can you use the technologies in a better way, in a more suitable way to suit the other people. So these lessons we will go to talk about the design and prototyping. Okay, so it's a really funny cartoon. It's called user interface and also the user experience. Okay, so yeah, we guys are programmers. Yeah, we care about technologies. We care about the function that we can provide for the others. Okay, but somehow you need to think about the end user. Okay, so this one is called background, right? Here is the background. Rotate and produce the music for the baby to look at. So somehow when something is moving, so they try to disturb the the baby, so he can look at something and then stop crying and then feel that someone is carrying him or her. Okay, so this is what the bell is working. So most likely they will put some animal here, and then mostly when your baby lie on the bed. Okay, here the baby is lie on the bed. When he or she is looking at the bed belt, what what he or she is going to look at is only the pipette of all the animals. It's just like that. Okay, that's how we only care about the functions. Okay, we want the baby to keep quiet. We want to provide him or her some music, but we haven't think about the perspective of the baby. So yeah, he's looking at the animal, but the way that the baby is looking at the animal is here. He's only looking at the pipette. Okay, of the animal is very funny. So suppose we are designing a new system or a new application. So here you have a new application that you are going to work it. So where do we need to start, or what is the most important thing? The most important thing is ask the user. Okay, ask the user for the software requirement. Ask the user here. Okay, but in our project, we have a special situation. So do you know what is our special situation? The situation is similar to the baby, right? So the baby, he or she cannot talk, right? So in our project, for those underprivileged group, for those intellectual disability, for those MLP, multiple learning disabled, okay, so they cannot talk or they cannot communicate with you in a very effective or efficiency way. Okay, so somehow we need to observe or ask about their caregivers. Okay, that means their teachers, that means their parents. Okay, so in this subject. So we also invite some teacher from the SEN, and then during your service, you can also ask the needs of their parents. Okay, so somehow you can communicate with them. Of course, you can observe their emotions, and some of the although they are ID, although they are the intellectual disability, they can still communicate through some simple language. Okay, through some simple language or throughout their behavior. For example, so can they focus? Okay, can they focus on the task that you are going to ask? Okay, and you can also record their behavior. So for example, that means the log data. So I need to remember log data. So this one is really important for your grading. For example, you need to record down so how many correct questions that can be success answered by the student. So throughout the first surface, second surface, third surface, etc., etc., etc. So if your product is good enough, okay, so if your product is performing a better communication channel for those children, okay, for those students, so somehow their performance will be increased. So number of correct questions will be increased. So there is the facts that can help you to prove, okay, to prove whether your product is success or not, okay. And then when you record down this kind of log data, and then you can present during your presentation, or you can present the data, the log data inside your report. So definitely I can give you a higher grade because it proves the evidence. Okay, it provides the evidence to prove your word. Okay. And we guys programmer, it's a software perspective, software developer, software program. We are we service. Okay, we always think about the function that I have mentioned before. We only thinking about how many functions that I can provide for the user. Okay, so the user can learn, okay, and adopt to our system. Okay, adopt to our system. So that's why if you have played the DOS, or if you have played some mainframe system, or some microsystem, so somehow you need to type in the command. Okay, you need to type in the command. There is no GUI, graphical user interface. There is no icon, no windows, or no other things. You need to type in the command. Okay, so the command is powerful. The command somehow if you type in the correct command, so it's error-free. Okay, so we need not to handle lots of things about the interface. Save the memory, save the computation power. So this is the perspective of software engineer. Okay, or we call it developer. Okay, but now for all the apps design, or for all the software design, it changed to another way. We need to care about the end user. Okay, end user perspective. And there are two keywords, so we need to think about. The first one is who, okay, who are going to use your software. Okay, so somehow you need to find out your target audience and analyze the needs of your target audience and what your target audience are going to do. Okay, do what, okay, in your system. Okay, honestly, for all the end user, not only for the ID or for the MLP children, so all the end user nowadays, they will not care about your system. They will not care about your menu. So yeah, a simple question: will you still read the menu before you use any software, or will you still read the help? Okay, or yeah, so start something like that before you use the app or before you play the games. Most likely, you paid and then you learn step by step, step by step. Okay, so most likely I paid, and then for a certain time I unlock some functions, and then I learn another function. For then I paid for a certain time again, and then I unlock another function. I paid another new campaign for it. Okay, so a real person with real requirements, they just want to get the job done. Okay, without learning your system. So here comes to the similar situation. So whatever you're going to design a machine learning computer visions games for the user, or that you are going to, when you're going to do a VR, okay, virtual reality application for your end user. Okay, so they will not care anything about how the system is working, or how the system works. Okay, they just care how I can do the job, okay, without any learning. Okay. Okay, so that's why you need to bear in your mind, and then you need to care about the system development. So in this course, you experience how the computer is thinking. Okay, so computer is fast, extremely fast. Okay, to do the calculations, to do the logic thinking, computer is really fast. It's error-free, and it must be error-free. Okay, so you need to think all the things step by step. You need to think all the procedure very, very clearly to fulfill your task. Okay, so and in another way, so computer is really stupid. Computer cannot think outside the box, and then computer also cannot think or make multiple decisions. Okay, so wherever you are going to use computer visions to recognize the object, or wherever you are using the AI to recognize the object or recognize the speech, etc. Right? So if you want the computer consist of multiple dimension or multiple input, you need to spend lots of the efforts. Okay, so it's different. But we guys, human, okay, we are slow. We are slow, and then we are full of error. But we can think outside the box, and somehow we can make the decisions according to multiple input. Okay, whatever there is a high dimensional data, and then whatever there are lots of the factors that you need to concern, we guys human can still make the decision. And that is the difference between computers and also humans. Okay, and also peoples. So it's a HCI, or it's a interface between human and computer. So inside the computer, we need to inside the computer, we need to think very clearly. Okay, everything must be very logic. But outside the computer, okay, so we must be more human touch. Okay, human orient. Okay, so you need to step inside the target audience, so that you know what is the needs of your target audience, and then you need what they need to know or what they hate to learn. Okay, so in another words, programmer, so you act like a computer, so they are good. Okay, I'm a programmer, I'm a developer, so we are good at design inside the software. Okay, we are good at design inside software. We always concern lots of the possible case, or we want to concern all the possible case. We want control. Okay, we want to understand all the situations. Okay, we want the user to learn to use our system. We want the user to follow our guideline, to follow our instruction to learn the system. But mostly all the normal humans, they hate to do such kind of things. They only want some simple things. Okay, simple things, less control. They want to achieve their own goals. Okay, for the other things beside the goals, for the other things, I don't want to know, I don't want to learn. Okay, especially in this project we are doing with the intellectual disability, or somehow about the MLP, multiple learning disability. So somehow they do not want to care anything. Okay, they do not want to care anything outside. So as I mentioned before, they are not hardworking. Okay, they hate to learn. It is, yeah, it's just similar to you and also similar to me. So somehow I hate to learn without any motivation, right? So yeah, they also have similar situation, without any reward, without any visual effect, or if it's not fun, they will not learn, and then they will not use your system. Okay. So a very important keyword for all the software developer, or all the programmer. So I'm very selfish designer. When I design software, I design it for me. And so my first aim is to become you. So what is about? So you need to put yourself in someone's shoe or place or positions to understand their situations, to understand their motivation, to motivate them to learn, to motivate them to use your system, especially in this case, especially in our course. So you need to think extra ID or extra ML these student, okay, or children, okay. So you need to find some good materials for them. You need to find some good motivation for them to learn and then to use your system. That's very, very important. Know your user. So one of the most important things about the prototype, or how somehow about our HCI design, we always care about the user. So what is a user, and then yeah, what is user friendly? It's really, really hard to define. Okay, there are lots of different wording to define user and also user friendly, but always remember that there is no average user. Okay. So it's hard to design a product or design a apps for average user, just like a car, right? So there are some car for the racer, there are some car for the father and mother, and then there are some car for the transportation people, right? So there are lots of different car, okay? But there is no such kind of car for the average user. Okay, you cannot just combine all the function together and then say this one or this car is for the average user. Okay, especially today. So we have different kinds of apps. Okay, so different kind of apps they handle different. They handle different. They handle different objectives. Some of them handle about the payment. Some of them handle about the Gmail. Handle about the mail, emails. Okay. So some of them handle about the entertainment. Some of them handle about the banking. So there are lots of different apps to handle different purpose. Okay. And then you cannot use one super apps to handle all different kinds of things. But some students in China may say that, hey, no, I have a WeChat, okay, WeChat. So WeChat is a instant messenger, but it also combined with the payment. It also combined with the maybe call the taxi, something like that. It combine different apps together. But so somehow WeChat provides a really special function, SSO, okay, single sign-on. So Google, Facebook, and other kinds of social media, or even in PolyU, we also provide you the SSO. It provides a single sign-on system for you to log into the other system, just like WeChat. So WeChat, they have the SSO for you to log in, and then when you go to call a taxi or when you go to do the payment, it changed the interface from the instant messenger to the others, okay, to the others, okay. So you cannot say that WeChat is a super app and then combine all the application together. When you go to do another function, they change the interface, okay, they change the interface, and then they change some of the functions. The only function they share is only the SSO, single sign-on. So that's the difference. So we have taught a lot about the product design or about the HCI. Okay, so what I'm going to say that, so similar to other university student products, right? You cannot design a perfect application, or you cannot design a perfect apps. Okay, but the difference in this course is you have the opportunity for the user to test and then receive the feedback and then refine your prototype. So it's similar to the product design when you go outside. So first you define, where is it? So you define the prototype first, okay? You define the prototype, okay? And then you let the user to use it, okay? You deploy and then observe whether your product is good enough or whether your apps or your application is good enough. You observe the feedback, okay? You observe the actions of your user, okay? And then we do the reflective journal, okay? We do the reflective journal. So we have different reflective questions for you to refine your product, okay? And then you have another new product again, and then you test, and then you have reflections, and then you refine the product again and again, okay? So at least you have 3 times, I remember, at least you have 3 times to do this kind of cycles, and then observe the need of your clients, and then refine your product, okay? So throughout the process, you need to record down all the things that you have observed, and then you need to record down all the things that you have learned from your prototype, okay? You have learned from your design. So yes, of course, I will give you the mask for a prototype, okay? But don't worry if the mask of your product is, or I would say that if your product is not good enough, it's okay, okay? You can refine during your service, okay? And then you can state the problems inside your reflective journal, and then you refine it again, and refine it again. So this is the settings of our course. So it's different from other of your university course, right? So mostly when you study in other course, so you have the term project, right? You have the project, and then after the presentation, you will forget everything about your prototype. You forget all the things about your term project, okay? And in this course, you will meet the client, do the deployments, do the observations, and then refine again. Okay. So I have many months ago, I have a chance to meet somehow about some senior in a big company. So I asked, so how can our graduates go to your company and then to work with your company? So he asked a really good questions. Okay. So for example, if you are class 100, right? So you are coming from top university, definitely you have a well training about your language skills, about your development skills. We will ask you to go to our company. But if you are not in top university or QS 100, but you can show a product or a prototype, okay, in your during your university study. For example, just like our IT people. In year one, we will create some simple programming, okay? And year two, you learn something about the web programming, and then you learn database, you learn some about data structure. In year three and year four, you will learn computer vision, you will learn AI, you will learn chatbot, etc., okay? So the senior management told me that if you can show a project, okay, a project that you have refined starting from your year one to year two to year three and year four and becomes your own product. Okay, so this product I combine the year one, the basic program that I've learned, I refine the product. Okay, according to the data structure, according to the database in year two, and then I add the new function. I add the new function for the chat. I add the chatbot. I add the compare visions, okay, and then it becomes a complete product. And this product is comprehensive enough, and then somehow it can be used by the others. So the company is also looking at this kind of people, okay, because they know their objective, and then they know that they are always want to improve themselves. They can do they have do the reflections, okay, they have do the reflections, and they can improve their ability. They have a clear objective of what they are going to do. So they will also ask these kind of people go to their company and work with them, okay. So this is somehow we need to learn during our university life, and then how we can improve ourselves. I know that some of you guys are good in examinations. Okay, so that means you go to QS 100 and then you obtain the first honor degree. Okay, because you did really well in the examination. And some of our students, they love developments. They love to create some interesting things. Okay, so both of the students, they are also good. Okay, they are also good, and then they can go to some good company, or although they cannot go to good company, so they when they go outside, so they can know their career path. They can become a successful they can become a success people in our society. Some of the students they come from um, software engineering, or they come from engineering faculty of engineering. So they always talk about the SDLC, software development life cycle. So when you go outside to work, at the very beginning, you will ask very details about the user requirements, and then you have a complete or comprehensive designs about your functions, about your system architecture, about your program, etc. Okay. But nowadays we have another approach, okay, called ad hoc software methodology. So what is the meaning of ad hoc software methodology? It's similar to your apps or to the games that you are playing in your mobile phone. So the game playing in your mobile phone is at the very beginning they only provide you a very simple gameplay. Okay, very simple gameplay. So if the user accept the simple gameplay, so they will add another gameplay, okay, into the games. Okay, for example, they will add the community functions, and then for example they will add the player versus player function into the games. And then if the player accept the gameplay, they will add another one, and then they will add another one. So this one is called ad hoc software methodology. and it's quite commonly used in yeah, nowadays. Is we commonly found in your app or software development because we cannot think a very comprehensive software and then push it into market. It costs a huge development cost. So what we are going to do, we are quite ad hoc. So we observe the need from some individual. Okay, maybe it's individual employer or maybe it's individual user. Okay, so we try to solve this special need. Okay, special need. Okay, when the user accept our design. Okay, so we'll put it into experimental to let more and more people into it, and then we will add more function into our system. Okay, we'll add more function into our system, integrate them into a more comprehensive software or more comprehensive apps for the others to use. And then if you are really success, so it becomes a transformation. Okay, so you can define the strategy or define the transform to help you to transform the apps into a really successful business model. Okay, so this is what is commonly found in our apps or in our software development website, and is similar to our approach. So the approach of what we are going to use now. So we observe the ad hoc request from the user, so we know that they have the need of some functionality. Okay, and then you develop a simple applications. You go to the end user and then test with your end user. That means deploy, right? You deploy it and then you observe the need, and then you um, understand their need. Okay, understand their need. Perhaps you need to change your design. Okay, we design your apps or they have some new requests. So you will add some new function into it and then integrate to your existing app or existing applications, and then so on and then so on and so on. Okay, so yeah, this is quite an interesting approach. And then yeah, always remember this approach is maybe in your university, like you only have one or two this kind of opportunity. Okay, to do this kind of approach, because it's hard to find the user and then let you to test, and you can do the refinements and then test with your user again and then again and again. Okay, so yeah, don't miss the chance, and then try your best to develop a good software and then learn about the process inside. So intellectual disability, IT is your target audience. And then, so what is IT? IT refer to the brain function is under slow or abnormal development. Okay, so that means that they have lots of the problems on learning or adoption ability. So besides intelligence, so most likely the IT persons are no difference, okay, are no difference from the normal people. But some of the ID persons, because they have the brain function, right? So somehow they have different functions about controlling their muscle or controlling their big muscle or their small muscle, and then it affects their movement and other kinds of things. So you have visits to Sunnyside School, right? So you saw some of the students in Sunnyside School, they are sitting on the wheelchair because they cannot control the back muscle and then they cannot walk. So it's another common case in the ID presence. ID is a permanent defect and then they cannot be recovered. But luckily for the ID present, their potential can be explored. Okay, and then if they can receive correct or they can receive good education at a very early stage, so somehow their developments can be improved. Okay, and then we know that some of them they are good in drawing, some of them are good in art, some of them are good in calculation, etc. So some of them we can explore the potential from them. For the classification, so it's from country to country. There are lots of different kinds of classification, but most likely we use the IQ level to classify them. For the mild case, it should be the IQ level should be 69 to 50, 69 to 50. For the intermediate, it should be 49 to 25. And for the severe case, it should be below 25. That means for the severe case, it should be similar to a 2 to 3 years old child. For the intermediate, it's similar to a 5 to 6 year old. And then for the mild case, similar to a 9 to 10 years old child. So most of the case of the ID people is come from before birth, okay? So most likely is come from the genes, okay? So yep, as I have mentioned before, so there are lots of testing that you can test your baby before birth. So somehow in Hong Kong there is one test called M21. So they get the blood from the mothers, okay, and then they know the situation of the baby. So it's better. So after this course, so I hope that one of the most important things in your mind is you need to do different kind of testing before you are going to have the baby. Okay, so you need to know the situations of your baby. Otherwise, when your baby have some problem after birth, there will be a lifelong situation. So you need to care him or her for more than 50 or 60 years, because nowadays our education and then our clinical system is good, so they can live longer, maybe longer than you. Okay, so you need to bear in your mind, do lots of the testing so you can make your decision before the baby come to our world. So another is afterborn, okay? So maybe it's some abnormal delivery or is affected by the other sickness, okay? So that's why when your children they have the fever, so most likely we need to go to hospital and do lots of the tracking, okay? So if the fever is affected by is caused by the other virus, and then it may be cause some damage on their brain, and then it turns to be maybe turns to another ID present that we have shown in our previous video in our lessons 1. So always remember, take care about the children is not a good it's not a easy thing. Okay, so always remember to thank your parents, to thank your father and mother. They are really good. So characteristic of the ID peoples, okay, characteristic. So yeah, because most of the the major difference is about their intelligence. So compared to a able-bodied or called normal person, so ID person are weak in knowledge, and also they are weak in understand the abstract concepts. So they need a longer time to learn the new things. For example, if you for example, I read the words to you and I explain the situation to you. So I explain one is enough. For the IT people, at least you need to explain 10 times, 20 times or more, okay, or more. So there are one very classic situation. So if your case is really serious, and then for example, you want to teach them about apple, orange, and banana, because the way for you to eat the apple, orange, and banana is different. Okay. So it needs few months to help them to learn what is the difference between apple, orange, and banana, and what is the different way for them to eat the apple, orange, and banana. So yeah, that is the situation. That's why for the caregiver, you also need to be very patient, and then you also need to, you need to give extra care to the ID students. They can only learn things one by one, and then every day you need to repeat at least 10 times to help them to remember the wording, to remember the step that they need. They are hard to focus, okay, hard to focus. They mostly, I would say that if it's not a YouTube movie, if it's not a animation, if it's not a games, okay, so mostly they can only focus few minutes, okay. After a few minutes, they cannot pay attention, so they will focus on the other things. So you guys are university students, so just like the PowerPoint or just like the lecture, you can pay attention to 3 hours. So most likely I will only give break for 1 hour or 45 minutes. Okay, so at least you can pay attention for more than 45 minutes, but they can't. So that's why after 2 or 3 minutes, you need to think another kind of thing to interact with your ID person. So to keep them pay attention. Okay, without attention, you cannot draw. If you cannot draw their attention, so somehow you cannot help them to remember the things. Yeah, they are weak in memory. So later on we will talk about the memory system, and then you need to repeat, and repeat. Okay, to make sure that they understand the situation. They can't do the problem solving. They are weak in adopt the problem into different kind of situation. So for example, you tell them how to eat the orange. Okay, so maybe you know how to eat the orange, so you also know how to eat the watermelon, etc. Okay, but for them, orange, watermelon are totally different. Okay, so they learn to eat orange doesn't mean that they can automatic know how to eat the watermelon. That's the situations. So yeah, they are lazy. Okay, they are lazy. So they need simulations. Okay, so somehow if you do not give them music, if you do not give them some sound effect, or if you do not give them some visual effect, okay, visual effect just like games, right? You have sound effect or you have the visual effect, so they cannot pay attention. Okay, they are lazy. If they can sit, they will not stand. Okay, if they, yeah, if you um, if they can sit down, they will not do the exercise. So that's why in our previous case, we need to always think about different kinds of games to motivate them to do the physical exercise to keep them healthy. Okay, they are weak in understanding, and also they are weak in abstract and logic analysis. Okay, and of course, is thinking. Okay, so somehow you can only teach them some about the procedure. Okay, or we call it action and reaction. I press the button so I can have the reaction to receive something. Okay, to receive something. So they cannot do the problem solving. They cannot think how I can achieve our goal. Okay, so this is the difference between you and also this kind of ID persons. So the adjectives for the towards the ID persons. Okay, the first one is patient. Okay, patience. ID persons are, yeah, they are relatively slow than normal people in reactions or to the actions or to the wording. So when you speak a wording to them, so maybe they need few seconds to process your wordings and then reply to you. Okay. So you should give them time to absorb the idea and then express the vocabulary and finish the instructions with your patients. Yeah, you need to pay lots of the attention and then you need to wait for their response. Second thing, immediacy. So that means passions. Okay, so you need to always encourage them to perform better. Okay, encourage them with some positive wordings. So in our course, so negative wording, for example, want, for example, you are not correct, incorrect, etc. So try to avoid to use this kind of negative wordings. Negative wording is not allowed in our course when you deal with the ID persons. Okay, always be positive, always encourage them to do better, to perform better. Okay, so you can also involve some sound effect or visual effect to help them to, yeah, that means to reward them. You help them to encourage them to do such kind of thing. For example, you can clap with the sound effect, clap the hand, or with the animation, clap the hands, and then you can pay to the ID person to encourage them. Do not use the system error sound, for example, to do, etc. Okay, so those are the negative sound effect, negative visual effect, negative word things. Okay, so it's not allowed in our course. Love and care. Okay, love and care. So for the other person, they are weak in self-care and self-defense. Okay, so yeah, so always show your love. Okay, show your love with some positive wordings, with some positive encouragement, etc. Accepting the limitation. So as I have mentioned before, when you have some problem inside your brain, so definitely not only about the intelligence, maybe you have different kinds of problems. Okay, so when you are doing your teaching or face-to-face service, so coach should be required with accepting their limitations. Okay. Um, they may have problem in visions, they may be problems in hearing, they may be problem in their emotion, etc., etc. Okay, we shall accept their limitations. Okay, we should not make any negative impact on their confidence. Okay, in learning, in emotion, and even in social life. For example, when you go outside, you saw a IT person, he or she is shouting inside a shopping mall, etc. Okay, so just let it be. We need not to look at him or her. We need not to argue with him or her. Okay, just accept their limitations, and then just let them to calm down. And some of yeah, of course, their caregiver will try to calm down their emotions. Okay, so we just let it be. Okay, just this. So yeah, accept them. Try to accept them as a normal. Try to accept their limitation, and then try not to treat the people according to their appearance. So this is one of the important things. When you saw some people with special appearance, accept them. Okay, accept the uniqueness. We should meet the needs of the ID person according to their unique behavior and then unique living style. Okay, which are informed by their which is formed by their factors or by their environment. Okay, so accept the uniqueness, and in this course, we are going to do some applications for those ID persons. They are really unique. They have the unique needs, and then we need to recognize that and then try to solve it by our IT skills. Okay, to bridge the digital divide. Equal opportunity. IT person are also the member of our community. Okay, so they have the right, they have the freedom, they have the right to speech, they have freedom to speech, they have the right to enjoy the facility in our society. Okay, they have the right to play inside the park, they have the right to play inside the museum, etc., etc., etc. Okay, so we need to enjoy our life. They are part of our society with a equal opportunity. Okay, offering learning opportunity. That's what we are doing now. Okay, what we are doing now. For those underprivileged group, they do not have enough resources, just like I've mentioned before. So they use the application, but some of them are really old. The IT solution are really outdated. Okay, so some of them they are still using Flash. Okay. So they don't know how to use the current application, and lots of the application is not designed for the ID process. Okay, so especially about the learning package, because they cannot earn money from the ID presence. So we should provide ID person with the opportunity to learn from the correct activity, or they have the same opportunity to enjoy the same learning activity, to enjoy the same technologies. Okay, with us. So we should also uh, because they have they need to learn. Okay, so we avoid having them to finish their work unless your tasks are too difficult and they are not able to do so. Okay, so you can encourage them and then to become more independent. Okay, and adapt to our society. Indoctrinations of the righteous knowledge. We should teach the ID person they need guidelines before they make the decisions. Okay, so when they need to make the decision, they need to select the options for them. Okay, they need they need to learn. They need help from the others. Okay, they need help from the others. Setting appropriate expectations. Okay, so we have to be realistic and stay positive with the IT person. Our goal is to unlock their potential, or our goal is to push up their learning. Okay, push up their developments. But that means that you have to set some appropriate expectation for them. Okay, So they need not to learn a difficult calculation. They need not to learn the XY equations. They need not to learn some to learn some sine cosine relationship, etc., etc. We cannot set some unrealistic um, objective or goal for them. It's not fair to them. So to summarize, assist the ID presence in learning. So some of the key points. The first one is repeat your wordings. Okay, repeat the same wording again, again, and again. Observe their need. Okay, observe their need. Listen to the ID presence. Okay, patiently. So listen to their wordings. You can ask them to repeat their wordings. Okay, listen to them. Give time. Okay, give time to them to change. Okay, so when you are teaching a new vocabulary or when you are teaching a new keywords, okay, so maybe they will forget. They maybe they maybe you teach a step and maybe they will forget in a really short time. Okay, give them time to change. Okay, just like the apple, orange, and banana examples. So it takes month to help them to remember. Maybe you spend 3 months and then they can only remember what's the difference between apple and orange. Okay, so that's the situations. And then if you see some misbehavior, ignore. Okay, ignore. Okay, ignore them. Okay, so try to give them space, try to give them time to change their misbehavior. It's okay. It's okay. Encourage the IT persons to perform better. Okay, again, always use some positive wordings, always use some positive sound effects or visual effect to encourage the IT presence. Okay, and do not use some negative wording, negative visual effect, negative sound effect. Okay, okay for them.